Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll, please.
Trustee Porcelli? Trustee Weissman?
Here.
Trustee Bellinger? Bellinger, I apologize. Trustee Gondowski? Here. Trustee Brennemore? Here. Trustee Heston?
Here.
Attorney Davis?
Here.
Treasurer Gossip?
Present.
President Delbert?
Here. Approval of agenda. There's a couple of additions that were late arrivals that we need to address. Item H under President item will be the snow ordinance, the winter ordinance. And it's going to be ordinance number 358. I think you all received a copy of it. And item I will be the liability insurance renewal.
Is Mr. Addis with you?
I suspect he is. I just tried to call him and I hadn't heard that he wasn't.
Okay, because I'd like to add an item under new business. I just had a question for him about contracts. Can we add that as item F under new business?
Okay, sure.
And I make a motion to accept the amended agenda.
Support.
The properly moved and supported. We accept the agenda as amended. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment on the agenda.
Hello, Patty Thomas. Two things I want to comment on. One is the village manager. I really don't see the necessity. It's a real hard sell for me. We've got the audit going. We're working on the building ordinances. I don't see anything here that really needs to be managed. The next thing is the marijuana ordinance. I probably figure you're going to opt out. I would really like for you to consider opting in, at least leaving a little door open for anybody who wants to get in. All of your reasoning was not for naught. To me, instead of throwing $100,000 out for a village manager, you could take $30,000 and open 3 part-time and help the clerk manage licensing and stuff. You know, and for the police, that's not a factor. It's minimal. Fire, that's been disproven. It's no worse than any of the hazmat things, whether, you know, with that Selfridge. And to me, I just would like to see at least a little door open for something, because when you shut that door, you're shutting out jobs for us. That would be jobs. I mean, you're waiting for an Aldi to come in and you want a village manager to shop us around. Well, with the marijuana thing, they would come to us. I mean, it's simple logic. It's proven logic. So please consider opting in still. Thank you.
Thank you.
They got
Any other comments on the agenda?
Yeah, no.
today.
Can I say something about what you just said?
You can speak.
With the marijuana, I disagree. I don't think that we should have it. There's so many accidents. I don't know if you noticed over there on 26, And New Haven Road, I can't tell you how many accidents have happened, and most of them were drunken driving. Now, if we're gonna have drunken driving, can you imagine if you put marijuana with that? Those people don't know what they're doing, so I disagree.
Thank you. Any other comments on the agenda? Approval of minutes, November 13th.
I had a question about the minutes from last month. Should the minutes reflect dollar amounts? I mean, they're supposed to be short to the point, yes, know what the motion was. But I noticed that, for example, the property that was sold on Lutz, should it have said 7,000?
It probably should have.
Yeah, because there's the sewer deficit, it could have mentioned there were 1.2 million, that's what we're discussing. And also, under public comments, James Myron came up about the Second Street property, and that wasn't included. And under president's items, I really nitpicked it. The initial motion for the audits from Ms. Kazel was $4,500 to catch up for 5 years, and then it was a yearly contract for $1,000.
Or,
Yeah, for the, so if we could just mention the dollar figures, just keep the minutes short, but we'll mention the dollar figures.
Any other comments on the agenda, the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Support.
Been properly moved and supported that we approve the minutes as amended. Questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Sorry. Trustee Pine.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't know who seconded. You did,
Aye.
okay, I apologize. Trustee Meisner,
Yes.
trustee Bellinger,
Yes.
trustee Podolsky,
Yes.
trustee Hested,
Yes.
and President Gilbert.
Yes. That's what I love about the first meeting. And if I'm moving too quick, just give me a look or something.
Okay.
I'll slow it down. President items. The first item is a Pinewood resolution. And this all came about, we had inquired about acquiring the property south of Pinewood. It's vacant property that is owned by the Housing Commission. And we went through 4 or 5 months of talking to HUD and being in contact with HUD and being shifted from one department to another. And when we finally got to the right person, we were told that a request has to be made from the local housing authority to HUD for them to seek permission to sell us the property at some, we're just looking to buy this for $1 or some nominal, because they have no use for it sitting there. And the fact of the matter is that the Housing Commission was created by the village council, and they actually work for us. So we want to acquire this property, make it a part of the cemetery. While we're not going to run out of space, hopefully in the next few years, but we are just trying to get ahead of ourselves so that at some point when the cemetery does fill up, then we will have this additional property. So So this is what this resolution 18-00008 is. Just a resolution that directs the housing manager to make this formal request from HUD. If you have any questions, feel free.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, you might have said it while I was pulling up the document. Who is our housing manager?
Her name is, help me out.
Karen Kincaid?
No.
No, Sabrina.
She's a board
Was it
member.
Sabrina?
Sabrina,
Was it Sabrina?
yeah. There's a 5-member board over there, but the Sabrina is the on-site manager of the house.
I make a motion that we approve resolution 18-00008 regarding the disposition of vacant property by the New Haven Housing Commission.
Been properly moved and supported that we adopt resolution 18-00008 regarding vacant property controlled by the New Haven Housing Commission. Any questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Pennor?
Yes.
Trustee Meissen?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger? Yes. Trustee Banowski?
Yes.
Trustee Hessek?
Yes.
Trustee Silver?
Yes. Motion carried. Before you leave tonight, let's make sure we'll get the proper signatures on this so that we can get them in motion. The social media policy. This was tabled from last month. And I'm not sure why, or if it was just to give everyone a chance to read it. I wish the attorney was here.
President Gilbert. I believe that the reason that we tabled it last meeting was so that we could have the full council, the new council.
And if you wish, I don't see no problem with tabling this again. The attorney's not here to fully explain the deed.
Might have just-
Sorry about this. Hey, Al. Yes, where are you? Federal court, okay.
It's not everywhere.
Okay. You're probably, what, about 45 minutes out? Yeah, no problem. Yep. No, I'll be on the couch by the time you get here. We're good. Yes, yes. All right.
Can I request that we table this? I wanted to ask our attorney if this media policy complies with the Public Employee Relations Act.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, with IPPA as well. So, can we table this?
We probably should, let's make a motion to table.
Okay, I make a motion to table the social media policy.
Support. Been properly moved and supported. And we table the social media policy. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And I think we should also table the next one, the conflict of interest disclosure statement. The attorney need to be here to answer some questions on that also.
I make a motion to table the annual disclosure statement.
It's been moved and supported that we table the annual disclosure statement. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Marijuana ordinance. We all know with the passing of Proposition 1, it does require us to do something. So we either have to opt in or opt out. I sent out a thing that I got this today or yesterday from a township board, from township organization. I think it had a sample ordinance in there. And it's quite simple. But I guess my question is, you know, what's the pleasure of the board? And I will allow, let's talk about it. If there's some discussion that needs to take place, let's feel free.
Well, go ahead.
At this point, I think it's probably in our best interest to opt out. It's just a temporary thing that can be changed at any time if we decide to move forward. I think that we maybe need to sit back a minute and follow some other communities' lead. There's a lot of questions to be asked, especially like the dispensaries. I mean, it is legal now, so we have to accept that piece of it. And then decide as a community if we want to allow and what we want to allow. But I think at this point in the game, it's very early. That's my opinion.
Yeah, we had the medical marijuana meeting, we had 4 meetings. And during that meeting, we had a talk with, for example, our assistant fire chief, Steer. Right now, we don't have the infrastructure to support these businesses. We don't have the ladder truck, we don't have the correct the foam suppression system. We have 1 sheriff's deputy per shift. I talked to the clerk up in Lennox Township. They have been flooded with requests, and her job now is to deal with background checks and to deal with licensing and processing and submitting stuff to Laura. And, you know, we might have to hire additional office personnel. Right now, we don't have the infrastructure right now to support these types of businesses. We have communities like Sterling Heights that are opting out for now because, again, there's going to be at least 2 more years before the rules and regulations come close to being in place. There are already challenges in court about the legality of the entire issue. So for us to dive in right now, I think would be unwise. The marijuana committee voted 4-3 not to do anything, which at that point was in essence opting out. Now we have to either opt in or opt out. So I think right now at this juncture, we just can't afford it.
Yeah, I'd like to echo the sentiments of Trustee Pridemore and Trustee Bankowski. Reading the documentation that President Dober sent us from the Michigan Townships Association, you know, in essence, and there was some confusion that I see in the public too, as far as whether or not a municipality has to opt out. And the reasoning for it, for anybody, you know, for everybody here in attendance that, you know, hasn't read all of this yet, the way Proposal 1 was worded is that if a municipality or if a company comes in and applies for a license, as long as an ordinance isn't in place to not allow the licensee the opportunity to open a business, then Laura would grant that license. So in essence, if we don't opt out by default, then applying for a license would be granted.
We have ordinance 207.
What's that?
We have ordinance
We
207.
do, right, we do have ordinance 207, which we'd have to kind of work with. And so that's the rationale on why we have to act one way or another. I'm also in the opinion that it's early. I personally, and I'll be quite honest, I voted yes on Proposal 1 on legalizing it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I support having the facilities in our community. Personally, what I would like, and I don't know if this is possible, unfortunately, it would have been nice if Attorney Addis was here for this answer, maybe he'd be able to answer. Can we have a time-based ordinance where we could say the ordinance is only effective until a certain date, that we could then reconvene, so we could actually say it's only effective for a year?
I don't think that's necessary. I think what we need to do, based on the fact that Laura's not gonna be ready till 2020
Right.
at the earliest, I think we should adopt the ordinance, opting out. And if we ever decide to revisit this, we can always rescind that ordinance.
Sterling Heights is reviewing theirs every year, I believe. So,
Yeah, because, I mean, and I'll be honest, I don't want to hard close the door on the subject. I do think that it deserves some attention, but right now, I do feel like it is just too early. There are still some unknowns with proposal one and how it's going to flesh out and how Laura is going to
Sure.
take everything. And I don't think we need to be worrying about that right now.
I think we should adopt the ordinance.
What
Just opt
is
out.
ordinance or resolution? We have ordinance 207.
It doesn't, that ordinance does not address this specifically. You know, it talks about a lot of pipes and a lot of paraphernalia. I think we need to adopt one specifically for this purpose, and then at some point in time, if we decide to revisit, and if we want to rescind that ordinance at some point in time, we can do that. But I think right now, I need to get direction to instruct the attorney to draft the ordinance and bring it back for the January meeting.
Do you want a motion on it? Okay. I make a motion that we ask the attorney to draft an ordinance to officially opt out of the recreational marijuana, MTA. I don't remember the acronym off the top of my head, but to opt out for the village of New Haven.
Support.
Been probably moved and supported that we direct the attorney to draft an ordinance opting out of the recreational marijuana proposal. Any questions on the motion? And I may take the opportunity because I'm hard of hearing, and I know the clerk down there is probably having a more difficult time. To our new members, give us your outside voices.
Yeah, I don't recognize your voices yet, so I'm trying to pop up to see who is saying.
Yeah, sorry, I'll have to remember not to block you too.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carried. Item E, street boring proposals. Submitted.
Good evening. Welcome new council members. See some familiar faces. Servant Safe, I'm with Tri-County Engineering, your engineer. I was directed by President Dilbert to look at 3 streets for next year if possible. We have 3 possible streets within the village, and Marla and Midfield. And the first step is to hire a geotechnical firm to do some cores to find out what we're dealing with. Take a sample and they make recommendation for the next phase of the design. So we solicit 6, we received 3 quotes. TEC for $3,667, G2 for $39.50, and PSI for $54.60. And we are recommending TEC, the lowest bidder, be awarded this work. And we are here seeking council approval to sign the proposal.
That's for all 3 streets?
All 3.
Remind me, what did we use for Clark?
PSI last year.
And were these 3 streets selected based off of the Pacer, or?
Based on the Pacer and the criticality and the, we which one we want to tackle first. These are short streets, not long, so, I mean, we should be able to do all three together. If council.
The rationale is, particularly Marla and, get the other streets, they're concrete streets that we have no experience in replacing. And all these streets are in bad shape based on the Pacer ratings. It's an opportunity to get some idea of what it's going to take to rebuild these concrete streets. We're looking at a couple options, a mill and overlay, or if that doesn't do it, then we're looking for a total concrete replacement. And that's why these borings need to be done, so that we know what kind of base is under that. The only other major sub that we have in the village of concrete streets is Decorah. So what we learn in the Rooney sub will help us in dealing with the concrete streets in Decorah in the future. And for the new board members, you received I'm sorry, I'm just going to address this right now. You received some pieces of paper with a whole lot of, okay, and it's broken into two categories, asphalt roads and concrete roads. And every street in the village of New Haven has been rated. It's a 1 to 10 scale, and we decided to do worse first. So that's why, you did receive these, and so that's how we determine what streets to take a look at. I'm sorry, go on.
Yes, so Midfield and Marla are two concrete roads, and is asphalt. By doing this investigation, it will tell us what we need to do. If we replace them with full replacement, total remove and replace, or we can mill the asphalt layer, and if we have a good base, and overlay it. This is step number one. And once we know that information, we can come back and estimate the three projects for you. And if council approves, we'll move forward with the design and solicit for construction bids.
I make a motion that we approve the amount of $3,667 to TEC for street boring.
Support.
And properly moved and supported that we accept the proposal from TEC in the amount of $3,667 for the street boring. Any questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Prymore?
Yes.
Trustee Meisen?
Yes.
Trustee Belanger? Yes. Trustee Vanowski?
Yes.
Trustee Hessett?
Yes.
President Gilbert?
Yes.
Real quick before, if I could. So if we do the boring, when would the plan date be? Like, would we then try to knock this out first thing in the spring?
If we come back with some favorable borings, then we will come back to council with a guesstimate of what it's going to cost. In talking to Mrs. Hazel, we think that we should always try to preserve 60% or with the 70% of our Act 51 money. So, I'm not sure what we're going to have available for 19,
Sure.
but I think it's going to be somewhere in that, give me a number, $500,000?
We get
No, as far as available to spend,
available to spend,
yeah.
we get $1 million in both funds right now in our fund balance, so, and we're getting like $378,000 a year, so.
So we should have about $500,000 to spend.
We should, depends how much, of course, the project's gonna be.
Thank you.
New hire office staff, we're not prepared. We thought we had a hire in place and didn't realize that when she left our interview, she went to another interview and she accepted the job. So we're still looking. We've made a couple phone calls to make an offer to another individual that we did interview. In third interview, priced herself out of the job. She was asking, she was looking for. So we're still looking. Hopefully within the next week or so, we will have someone in place. Item G, village manager. Our next step, and I forget where we left off.
Yeah, I think at this point, we should probably, obviously we have 2 new members on council. I don't know how, I know I've talked to you both personally, individually, just in spare time, but I don't know how up to date you guys are on the entire process or what we've gone through so far with the village manager. We've had some workshops to try to discuss what whether or not we want to have a village manager. We've had Ways and Means Committee discuss the salary amounts. We went through the process of interviewing for village manager. We had 2 individuals who we ultimately liked the most. We were ready to extend the offer to one. Attorney Addis kind of slowed the roll down a little bit just to make sure that we're following the proper chain of events, I guess you could say. I think, again, I kind of wish Attorney Addis was here just to make sure we're following the proper order, but I think at the very least, at the present time, we should have a formal vote whether or not we want to move forward with the process of hiring a village manager, and then maybe a secondary motion of asking Attorney Addis to come forward with a village manager ordinance that we can then discuss and act on. The candidate that we had lined up, he is a current city manager up north. He currently has a job. When I talked to him last, I did give him a heads up that we were going to kind of stall it out a little bit to give you guys the chance to get onto the council and kind of get up to speed. We didn't want to make this decision with kind of like a lame duck session before everybody comes on. So, at least it seems like he's still willing to wait if we are still interested in extending the offer to him. So.
Okay, with that being said, then the motion in order to continue the process. If that's your desire.
Do we know that the new council people are up to speed on everything on this issue? Do you guys?
I know very little information about it personally. I did not attend any of the workshops or the interview sessions or things of that nature. I'm not sure.
I don't think there's anything that we can share with them that's actually going to help them. Either they're for the process, they're for or against. So I think what we need to do is continue the process. If you want to continue going forward, then we need to make a motion to do that, and then I will instruct the attorney. If a motion is approved, I will instruct the attorney to start working on the ordinance.
If we move forward, will there be an opportunity to catch up, maybe isn't the right way to say it, but meet the candidate or talk to
You
him?
will definitely get the opportunity to meet the candidate.
Before it's...
Yes.
Yeah, and maybe just for your benefit too, just a high level overview so that you know exactly what you're kind of voting on tonight. In general, the salary range was about $72,000-$75,000 with benefits that equated to about $100,000. And that's really where a lot of the debate comes in. Is that it's obviously it's a lot of money for the village, and it's something that really shouldn't be taken lightly. But it depends on whether or not you believe that it's worth it for the village to have the full-time administrator or the full-time, village manager in the office, or if you think, that we could make do a different way.
Not to juggle with anybody's finances, but if we got into it and 8 months down the road didn't feel like there was a return on investment, or it wasn't working out, is there a contract term that has to be?
That depends on the contract, how the contract is written.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and some of the things also that, Trustee Chandler, when he was here, he was definitely a proponent for it, and he's also a little bit more eloquent with his words than I can be. One of the ways that he would explain it, or did explain it to us too, was, when you think of most corporations, you have your CEO type figure, and then you have your board, and the village manager in this case would be that CEO type figure, and then the council is the board that would be, directing the CEO in how to do the day-to-day operations of the village. There would be the contract, you would have it written in on, performance attributes, or, you'd have to have some sort of metric established as far as, performance, making sure you're happy with what they're doing, living up to their goals that we put in place. And then ultimately, it's a matter of the council, coming up with what is it that we would want the village manager to be doing on the day-to-day basis, and then them carrying it out.
I guess that's, I think that it's time for the village to go to the next level of that structure, personally. But I think we all have to know what we expect from this person and what they're going to be held accountable. So right now, that's where it's a little muddy for me.
Sure.
Because I don't know that information. You possibly have done all that work already, and now is kind of a nice time to have this conversation, given the shortage of help in the office, and maybe there's just some restructuring overall that gets done there, including this person.
No, I don't think one thing has the shortage in the office is because we have an employee leave. That position's gonna be filled.
I agree with you 100%, but maybe we're looking for something for that position, and this manager may be doing other things, and maybe we can recreate that position in a different manner. Because Sandy is doing a lot right now. I feel that she's doing more than what I think she plans to do. Am I correct? Michelle?
Yeah, that's only temporary.
Right, I know that, but maybe just some restructuring overall may help her as well. And that person would have to help in that restructure. So that's my only question about what are they going to do? What are they going to be held accountable for? Because it is a lot of money.
It is, yeah, and to make a commitment and not have like a, I don't want to say like an escape clause, but to say like at 6 months if you're doing bonds and doing cartwheels down the hallway,
Yeah.
maybe we need to reevaluate what we're spending money on.
We always put in any contract a performance review.
Right.
And the nature of the job itself, managers for the municipality, Trustee Chandler said, they expect to move on, move up. They're not normally in it for the long haul. You'll get a turnover anywhere from 3 to 5 years. When Trustee Meissen reached out to the prospective candidate, I think he responded with an email about the scope of some of the duties he could perform. And I think some of them,
Yeah, I have to go back just as it has been a few months, but, he had some experience with grants. He was very customer focused, dealing with the public.
he was a member of the North, he's from the UP. Right?
Yeah, he is from the
Wait a minute. He was a member of their version of SEMCOG, the Southeastern Michigan Coalition of Governments. He's a member of that board. He has some impressive credentials, but he also said he would reach out, market the community, take a look at overall budget, bring a fresh set of eyes to the way that the village is operating right now.
That's what I meant by the comment about the restructuring. And not necessarily restructuring, but exactly what you're saying, a fresh set of eyes
Right.
to maybe bring some new
Perspective.
different perspective, new methods, new practices.
Yeah. And I said before, I'm a soft yes on this because
Let's, if you have some information that you'd like to share with the two members, feel free. But the first motion has to be, are we moving forward? So I'll entertain that motion if someone,
So I will make the motion to move forward in the active village manager position.
Second.
can properly move and support it, that we continue the process and moving forward and seeking out a village manager. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Part two of that is,
So I make a motion that we ask Attorney Addis to draft an ordinance for the Village of New Haven village manager.
Second.
been properly moved and supported that we direct the attorney to adopt, to create a village manager ordinance. Any questions on the motion?
I believe there's also some good resources on MLL.
Yeah, we had a couple
Yeah.
examples.
Yeah. So I just probably, you can take that as a start.
Any other questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Item H. Ordinance 358. And it's a winter parking ordinance. That, the old ordinance, for some odd reason, says that you must move your car that it snowed more than an inch between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, and you didn't have to move it if it snowed on Christmas Eve. And, okay, I'm just not that good of a weather. I forget when it's going to snow. So what we did was just clean up all the garbage, remove it all, and it basically, it just bears it down to common sense. If we get more than an inch, just get your car off the street so that we can plow. If we get more than, I think it's 2 inches or a snow emergency is declared, then you definitely must remove your vehicles from the streets, and they must remain off the streets for up to 36 hours so that we can come through, get everything cleaned up. And if your vehicle isn't moved, you will be ticketed or towed, depending on the severity of the snowstorm.
Has this already been reviewed by the village attorney?
Yes, they drafted it. And I've had conversations with the sheriff department, because they were a little confused about our old ordinance through these hours and whatnot, and they like this one. And we have all our contacts with with the media and whatnot, so when you see snow emergencies, you'll see us scrolling across the bottom of the TV screen also. So, and the sheriff department will post the snow emergencies on their Facebook page, and of course we'll post it on our Facebook page and our website.
I make a motion that we approve ordinance 358 considering snow ordinance.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported that we adopt ordinance 358 pertaining to snow emergencies. Any questions on the motion?
I just have a comment. So it says here it'll take place, effect 20 days after the adoption or upon publication. Do we know, I know it's kind of early about the publication dates, just so that, we're giving good public notice about it?
We'll get it in the paper. We'll have the proper signatures before we leave tonight. And then Lori, who takes care of our publication, will get it published as soon as possible. I think we have to Sandy, we have to have things in by Thursday for the following week or something.
Yes.
So sooner than later. Thank you.
Any other questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Prymore?
Yes.
Trustee Myson?
Yes.
Trustee Hessek?
Yes.
Trustee Banowski?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger?
Yes.
President Dilbert?
Yes. Item I, our property and liability insurance renewal. So we contract with Middle Brook through the MML. And once again, our insurance premium went down. And in addition to a modest decrease in our insurance, sometime early next year, we will also receive approximately $4,000 returned to us by the insurance company. Last year, we had a slight decrease in our premium, and then later on, from their pool, we received $4,000 rebate back, and they've already informed us that we should get at least that same $4,000 again. So our rate went down to $41,113, and with the $4,000 refund, our annual premium is $37,113. And you just received this, I think you just received it today because we just received it.
It does say that the 4,000 is an estimated number and the actual
Yes.
numbers won't be.
Right. It's gonna be somewhere in that 4,000.
So we're looking to approve 41,113.
Yes, yes.
I make a motion that we approve a payment of $41,113 to Meadowbrook Incorporated for liability and property insurance.
Support.
Been probably moved and supported that we renew our liability and property insurance with Meadowbrook in the amount of $41,113. Any questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Prymore?
Yes.
Trustee Myson?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger?
Yes.
Trustee Banowski?
Yes.
President Dilbert?
Yes.
Trustee Hessek?
Payment of bills.
I make a motion that we approve the payment of bills for December and November in the amount of $327,677.32.
Support.
Been properly moved and supported that we pay the bills for December and November in the amount of $327,677.32. Any questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Prymore?
Yes.
Trustee Bellinger?
Yes.
Trustee Hessek?
Yes.
Trustee Myson?
Yes.
Trustee Banowski?
Yes.
President Dilbert?
Yes. The clerk has a note. I don't know what your dates are, but I think my dates are, clerk items should be submitted no later than the 2nd of January for our January 8th meeting. Treasury report.
Total village assets of $3,593,034.76.
You've heard the treasury report.
I make a motion that we receive and file the treasurer's report.
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we receive and file the treasury report. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Old business, code enforcement.
Well, the original owner of it is no longer on council, so I guess, did you want me to speak for it, or you want to speak?
You know, there's, for the new trustees, there's, about 2 years ago, we hired, code enforcement officer, to replace a vacancy that we had. And since then, it hasn't gone as well as we had hoped. There's been, you know, properties that haven't been cleaned up, slow to clean up, unreturned emails, unreturned texts. It's just not going as we kind of wanted. There's been, especially, Brian said, Dan, trustee Dan Kirkhoff, he's been pretty vocal on it. He's kind of managed it, I guess you could say. He's been pretty vocal on it. He's had a lot of back and forth. There was a ride-along with trustee Myson and trustee B, correct? Recently, a couple months ago, kind of go through the village, address some of these properties that, you know, haven't been taken care of or have been slowly taken care of. I mean, there's a dishwasher on Clark Street in front of a house currently, a dishwasher. It's just not going the way it should be. Trustee Myson, to your credit, last meeting, he proposed kind of a little bit more stringent, like reporting from the officer. And I retorted with, we should just relieve the officer of his duties. We keep coming back to this almost monthly, it feels, and it just seems like nothing is going forth. So my opinion was to relieve him of his duties and kind of start the process over again. That's kind of where we sit.
Yeah, we had, since then, we had tabled it at last month's meeting, because again, we didn't want to make any motions until the full council, new council is in place. So, you know, I'm not sure if either of you have had any personal experiences or personal opinions regarding code enforcement, but, you know, just to echo trustee Hassick's, you know, sentiments. You know, I think ultimately, you know, our village is moving in the right direction, and we've had a lot of improvements over the years. So that's not to say that our code enforcement officer has been, you know, completely ineffective. It's just that we really need a bulldog. We need somebody who is going to, you know, follow through on all of these issues and make sure that they get resolved. You know, we have one where, you know, it just seems like it takes a long time for it to get to a resolution, if at all. There's still a lot of open cases, and, you know, driving through the village, going by prominent areas of the village, you know, depending on, you know, where all of us are driving, it depends. It can change your opinion of where the centers of focus need to be. But, you know, I think overall, just the entire village, we just, you know, we want to keep bringing the village forward and moving it forward and cleaning it up and making it look better. And it just seems like really in any direction that you drive, you're going to hit some properties that have blight or need to be cleaned up, unfortunately. Much to the residents' point, though, I mean, it hasn't been enforced for a while, but now we are trying to get it to be enforced. Did you, you know, I don't know, do you guys have any questions as newer members of the council?
Is he under contract?
No. Leave that well.
I've worked with them on ZBA, so I'm a bit familiar.
Planning as well.
Underwhelmed there.
Yeah, I mean, to last month's point, and even Trustee Bankowski's point with planning, we did have the code enforcement officer come to the planning commission meeting at one point, and one thing that really stuck with me was that one of the commissioners even asked to even have a code enforcement officer because he was so unfamiliar with any progress being made. To me, I think that speaks volumes.
And I think, the village we have, if you're familiar with it, we have digitized code. It's on the website. It's great. I mean, you can search it. It's all there. It's there. It only needs to be enforced. We're at a critical time. We all said it as village manager. We're trying to attract businesses. We gotta attack this stuff. I mean, it's gotta be, we gotta go after it.
Okay, what's your pleasure?
I motion to relieve Code Enforcement Officer Christopher Benjamin of his duties.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Mr. Benjamin is here. I'm going to give him an opportunity if he wishes.
Good evening. I don't know how many people know anything about code enforcement. I've done it for possibly 7 years over at Macomb Township, and then when I retired from there, I answered the ad and came here. Code enforcement is not something that you cram down somebody's throat, let me tell you. Because if you do, the kickback you get from the people in the village or the township is going to be great. I know Dan, when Dan was here, he said he gave me a bunch of his business cards and said if I had any problems with the residents that were that I was going after to give them a business card. I don't know if Dan ever received any emails from them or what he did. He didn't say last time. I know Dan's policy was, which it took us a long time to get the policy set in straight. The last code enforcement never used the websites that we had or the PDA file that we have on the computer. So there was, all I got was a list of houses and if they were completed or not. I know he was pretty heavy on trying to give out fines. Probably out of the 60 fines that he gave out, only 2 of them ever got paid. So the code enforcement is not something that you can give them a notice one day and then haul them into court the next day. It's not going to work. Because you're going to get such a kickback from the people of the town, of the village, that, as you can see, Dan's no longer here. And I probably gave out 12 or 15 of his cards to people that asked me who was the person that was trying to enforce this. I told them, hey, all I do is enforce the ordinance. We went through and finally made up the certificate or the civil violation. It was had a tier of $100 for the first violation, $250, and then $500 for the third violation. Some of those were given out. Some people paid the violation, but they never corrected what was at the site. So then we're right back to the same issue. Do you give them another one, take them into court? For the court, the problem we have there is the ticket that we have to make out needs a driver's license and a birth certificate or a birth date on it. Otherwise, the court doesn't know who the person is by either a birth date or a driver's license number. That website was down for almost 3 months. So I couldn't do anything. The police department can't authorize giving me anything because it's privacy. And there's no other help out there. I even called over to my old boss in Macomb and asked him if he could get on it. And they were even unable to get onto the website to get the information I need to make tickets out. So from the last meeting to this meeting, we did do 4 tickets that are now in the court. They probably won't come up for probably until February to go to court. That's how long the court system takes to get to this. So code enforcement is not something that you jump down somebody's throat at because the kickback's going to be pretty bad. So it's up to you. I don't need a job. I'm already retired, so it's just something I have plenty of other things to do.
Thanks, Chris. Any questions on the motion? Roll call, please. I think it was Mr. Hayes, yeah.
Okay, that's all right, thank you. Trustee Hazak,
Yes.
trustee Meissen,
Yes.
trustee Pridemore,
Yes.
trustee Banowski,
Yes.
trustee Bellinger,
Yes.
president Dilbert.
No. New business.
Mr. DeVoe, could I make a comment? After this?
Pertaining to this particular, keep it short.
It will be short. Just moving forward with this, maybe we can figure out a way that we all can be a little bit more successful with it. I'm coming late to this, but just from what I hear from the table and what I hear from Mr. Benjamin and my experience in the past, I don't know how we want to approach it moving forward, but if we can come up with a different idea, what everyone's expectations are. Thank you.
New business. Mr. Meissen, planning commission update.
So, last month's meeting, which was last week, or for this month's meeting, December meeting last week that we had, we accepted the resignation of planning commissioner Kappa. So we will have one opening there. We also are faced with a unique situation where we now have 2 council members who are on the planning commission. So I will be formally putting in my letter of resignation for next month's planning commission meeting so that trustee Benkowski can continue on the planning commission as the council liaison. And that's really all that we have for updates.
Will be 2 openings.
There will be 2 openings.
Yeah, 2 opens. Mr. Haziak.
Parks and Rec update, carryover from last month. We do have, Parks and Rec is doing the Christmas light contest, so they're judging that this weekend, so having Christmas lights on this weekend. And more carryover again on the 150th committee. We are looking into sponsors currently, so getting all that information to solicit local businesses and businesses in the area to get sponsorship for it. And then of course everything that goes with it, and there is the 150th committee meeting that continues too. So other than that,
Just on the 150th committee meeting, we will not be having a December meeting because it actually would have fallen on Christmas.
yeah, Parks and Rec won't be having one either.
So we will be picking it up in January. Stay tuned to Facebook for the exact dates because I'm not sure exactly which dates they will be. But starting in January, the 150th celebration committee is planning on meeting 2 times a month so that we can really amp up the planning for the celebration. The celebration is the 19th of
July.
July.
That's about all we have. Continuing to work on the 2019 activities guide. And otherwise, pretty quiet.
Item C. This is one that I quite often, for the most part in the past, I've been the one to bring items to the table. And so what I'm going to do, starting 19, is that I'm asking the trustees to submit what you think would be your top 3 priorities moving forward. And you can you can send them to me privately, and I will put it all together and send it back out to everyone so we all can see what we think. Because I'm sure we all have different opinions, as to what the priorities should be. I learned a long time ago, set your top 3 and work on those, and as you resolve them, then you can pick up something else. But don't try to take on 5 or 10. So if you want to, feel free, and if you don't want to, that's your prerogative. But I'm just asking so that I know where where this board wants to go. Okay? I mean, I could be looking at one thing and they want to look at something else. So we want to make sure that we're looking in the right direction. So if you would, of course, you all have my email address, send them to me and make sure they're good reading material so when I'm on the couch, I'm not bored.
President Gilbert, that's for the entire year, or that's not a month to month?
No, for the entire year.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yep. Item D, the 150th has been meeting. They went to a convention, they made a lot of connections, and now we're in the process of securing some of these. And going forward, while we haven't set aside actual money, I did authorize using some park and rec money to secure one venue. So I'm just letting everybody know that we, and I think the amount that was needed for that, Mr. Meissen, was $500.
Yeah, that was the deposit amount.
Yeah, and so we would hope that as we start getting our donations and sponsorships, then we will reimburse the Parks and Rec Committee, and that should take care of itself. And there may be some other situations that came up, that may come up where we may need to make deposits. And of course, I won't exceed that 2,500 max. But, and it's all based on the 150th recommendation, and make a request.
Could we ask the attorney, if we're going to set up like a civic fund, remember the guy from Young said we shouldn't have gotten the plaque for. There are limitations to how you spend tax dollars. But there are several communities, especially the larger ones, that have civic funds.
Yes.
And those are used to promote the community, for community activities. But I don't know what the parameters are for that. Could we find out from the attorney?
Yes, we can. And we've had some of those discussions going forward that at some point in time, we may want to take in donations through PayPal or something like that. And these are things that may have to be separated from the village. And even in the future, we've talked about creating a totally independent park and rec department where we take on these type of functions and then they could operate under their own 501 and do things totally like they do in the Baltimore, which,
Yeah, that's one of the problems that we really seem to run into is that we're a municipality trying to put this on, and most other municipalities, other communities, there's a independent group that's doing it.
yes, so it's a learning process.
We've learned a lot.
It's definitely is showing us some things that we may have to address in the future. Item E, vacant parcels. I was asked last month to stick my nose into trying to reacquire a parcel adjacent to the Cora Park, where part of the Cora walking trail goes through. I met with a gentleman that was representing the organization that owned these properties. They own 9 parcels within the village. 7 of them are useless. And when I say useless, they're in the floodplain, the creek runs through them. There's a corner of Haven Place Park, which is a 40 by 40 by 40 diamond shape, a triangle shape. There's a 10-foot by 50-foot strip in 2 locations on Clark Street. There's a parcel adjacent to Amherst that's in the floodplain. The creek runs right through the middle of it. There's no access to it. So there's a lot of garbage property that they pick up on tax sales. And I guess this organization has been successful in other larger communities where they pick up these properties on tax sales and they've been able to resell them because these parcels have been buildable. But the ones that they picked up in the village, with the exception of one on Chenault and one on Stevens Street, which are buildable lots, the other 7 are useless. So in my discussion, he was asking if the village was willing to buy them, and I said no. I said, this is the offer. We want you to donate these parcels to the village, because right now they are currently paying taxes. It's not much, but they're paying taxes. We want you to donate these parcels to the village, and in return, you will get that write-off, and you will no longer have to pay taxes on useless parcels, and we will take care of all the paperwork to adjoin these parcels to the proper adjacent properties. And the question of the parcel that the Decorah walking trail, then that would be deeded over to Decorah Park and their association. Unfortunately, the top guy in the organization died a couple months ago unexpectedly. So now there's a board, so he was taking this information back to this board, and they're based out of St. Clair Shores in that area. So I expect to hear something back, and I gave him your number. Did he reach out to you?
I know.
Okay. Okay. Because that was the only parcel that he had included out of those 7 that he could find some value, and he realized that with that walking trail cutting through it, that gave that parcel some value. So his question to the association, if it comes up, is simply going to be, would the association be willing to refund the taxes that they paid on it?
Okay. Now, with the property that, for the walking trail being included on the PUD, although not included in the master deed, would there really be any value for somebody else to own it? Because if it's
Oh, no, because it's landlocked too.
right, it's landlocked and they wouldn't be able to develop it, right?
No, you wouldn't be able
Because
to develop it. And so I'm really surprised that this organization has been paying the taxes, and the taxes are up to date on it.
You know, I thought though the last time when we looked at this months ago, though, that it was showing as it was delinquent again.
Not delinquent.
Okay, so they might have recently. Now, when we were talking to them, were we also talking about, you mentioned that the one on Stevens is a vacant lot, Chanel.
Those are, we don't want those.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say.
Those are buildable lots.
Yeah.
Those are buildable lots, so we don't want those. But the other ones are useless. They have no value. I don't even think you could plant you couldn't plant a garden on them.
The one corner parcel, is that right adjacent to Haven Place?
Right adjacent, the sidewalk cuts through it.
So that would be that, okay.
And how these parcels were never attached. It's like the 2 on Park Street, the 2 strips on Park Street. I don't know if there was some future plan to widen Clark or what. But there's 2 strips that are, I think they're 10 feet by 120 feet.
Those are right of ways.
Yeah. But they're not deeded to the county nor the village.
But yet the similar strip that looks like it's on the other side is,
Which,
I'm assuming, deeded to the village. Like if you look at, what is this, the third to last page, Chenault, last 3 digits, 018. So like it looks like you have the strip of land here, and then on the other side of that lawn, there looks like there's another right of way.
yeah,
So I'm assuming that might have been deeded to the village, or?
It's,
Well, actually, I guess that could be anything.
it's crazy. Right now, we do cut it and, maintain it. But, like I said, this all needs to be cleared up.
Oh, right.
So when they acquire tax deferred properties, they buy them in blocks.
Yeah,
Up to
because when you go
400
to,
properties.
when you go to the county auction, you have to buy everything in that community.
My sister deals with mortgages and they buy delinquent homes in blocks of 300, 400 homes.
So that's just an update on the vacant property. So hopefully I will hear real soon. But like I said, from the village standpoint, our responsibility will be to do the paperwork to adjoin these properties to, their neighbors.
And I can definitely take it to the Core Parks HOA board to discuss about, just to at least,
Potentially.
Yeah.
Because like I said, my conversation with him was just a flat out donation. Just donate, we'll take them off your hands, you stop paying the taxes, and we'll just take them off your hands. And you keep the two buildable lots.
Thank you for talking to me.
yes.
So, the contract question.
That was for the attorney.
Yeah. Mrs. Bradmore, do you have this number? Attorneys.
What happened?
I mean, if you want to call them,
No, it's, when I see him before the next meeting.
okay.
It's not a big deal.
All right. Call from the floor.
Just a reminder,
Oh,
as long as Mr. Dilbert and Mr. Marson do not wear that same suit next meeting, that we have pictures before the council meeting. And also too, we have parliamentary procedures on January 12th at 9 a.m. It's a Saturday.
What time do the photographs start? Is that the next meeting?
6, she said 6.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we're all aware of this.
No, I mean,
Maybe 2004.
I can find another suit. That's like not Christmas
I
theme.
mean,
They have a ton of them on that website.
I've been told at work I need to find more of these suits and wear them on.
My son has like 9. They're on school all 9, so.
Call from the floor. Call from the table. Call from the floor.
I don't understand, because I haven't been one. My name's Dorothy Lockard, and the reason why I'm speaking tonight is on domestic violence. On January the 12th and January the 26th, I'm going to have one for the women. On February the 2nd and February the 16th, I'm going to have one for the men. The men are the most unreported domestic violence victims. They are close to 1 million men a year of being violated in some way, shape, or form. I do have Judge Hackle III coming on the 12th and the 2nd. The 2nd of February and January 12th. I have Turning Point coming out. I'm trying to contact a police officer to come to either one of those and a prosecuting attorney. I'm having problems with both of those. But I'm going to go face to face with both of them because this is so important. People don't know that the holidays are the worst for domestic violence. Every 9 seconds, a woman is beaten in America. Every 12 minutes, a woman is dead. A child is beaten many times over because of domestic abuse. Children have been murdered because of the jealousy of another party. This is why it's so important to me. It's my heart's desire to get the words out and to let them know that there is a way out. My cousin Brenda Swallow will be coming on January 12th, and he tell them how she had to go into hiding. And she literally had to leave the state. Nobody in the family could even know where she was at. She's fine now. The husband was killed in a violent car crash. She's back with us now. So this is why it's so important. I just want to bring it to everybody's attention.
I'm sorry, did you say your name, Dorothy?
Pardon me?
Dorothy?
Yes.
Is it an organization that you're with, or?
I'm gonna have it at Haven Place.
Why?
Yes.
Thank you.
And it's gonna be from 1:30 to 3:30 on all 4 dates.
Thank you.
Call from the floor. Call from the table.
I want to welcome the new members to council for signing up for the line. And I want to wish everybody here happy holidays.
I have a couple updates. The Clark Street project has been closed out. The SPE project has been closed out. And I need to ask Mr. Pridemore, sometime first part of the year, to schedule a Ways and Means meeting. There's a lot of things that are coming to me that you guys need to take your nose into.
Yeah, absolutely. Are we done with
Yes, we're done with Father Time. Yes. Yes, we're done with a few people that we want to be done with. Call from the table.
I think I already kind of touched on it, but just a reminder, I apologize, I don't have the exact dates, but stay tuned to the Village Facebook page. There will be 2 meetings for the 150th anniversary in January, and then every month moving forward, 2 meetings per month.
Is there I don't even know what the cost would be or if it's worth exploring, but like maybe a texting service where residents can opt in to, maybe for some of those people who aren't on Facebook, but want to know if a snow emergency's been declared or.
We looked into that.
Excellent.
We have looked into that.
I think there's,
Maybe we can revisit that next month.
I'm sorry.
Maybe we can revisit that next month.
That we'll revisit it in the near future. Because that's one of the things that, you know, you get feedback from the school district. Sometimes I get them when I don't want them. But that is a good service.
We will be having, we are still working through with Revise to actually revamp our website. This is more of an informational for both of you, or for all 4 of the new members. With Revise, the provider that manages our website, we do get a free redesign. So no cost to the village. They'll be redesigning the website, bringing it up to date. Hopefully, just making it look
Did we
nicer.
put the 150th anniversary thing in there?
Yeah, we could definitely, there's a lot of things that we can do. We actually do have newhaven150.com, I believe, is the website that we actually have for the 150th anniversary. That will hopefully start to utilize more and more next year.
Call from the table. Motion in order.
Motion to adjourn?
Support.
Thank you.